This is Percy. With his help, and the 4 others, in this video I'm going to review, well, I guess we're going to review the Litter Robot 3, aren't we? I've had cats for about 25 years. Not 5 cats, much less than that. That number was reached in September 2018. And throughout the course of these reviews on this channel, I'll be telling you bits and pieces about their stories. It was in fact when Harriet came along in September 2018 that I got my first litter robot. Prior to that, and for the first 23 or so years, it was just a manual litter tray, which is really my least favourite part of owning cats. I live in London, so my cats are house cats, therefore they don't go to the toilet outside. Although they do have an outdoor space. I had a catio that I built them, but I'm hoping they'll never actually use it as a toilet, because that wouldn't be much fun to clean up. So of course they use the litter tray. Now, a normal litter tray is fine, and look, if you've got 1 cat, it's super easy to keep it clean. 2, 3, quite challenging at times, and you may be looking at multiple litter trays. Anything more than that, that's when things get a bit messy. There's loads of different types of automatic litter trays out there. In fact, I've actually got 2 different types. I have the Litter Robot 3 downstairs, and upstairs in my bathroom I have the CatGenie, which I've had since 2015, but they hardly ever use it. I don't know why. Maybe it's the location of where it is. I mean, even when they're right next to it, they'll come downstairs to use the litter. It's so strange. And I couldn't put that one down here because it requires plumbing in. It's a much more complex machine. Because of that experience with the CatGenie, the idea of getting another self-cleaning litter tray for £500 or so, $500, I was a bit nervous about doing it because you just don't know if they're going to use it. It's like a cat toy that they may use or may not use because it only costs you a few quid. I mean, well, I'm hopefully you're not buying cat toys that cost £500 or so. Then again, I'll probably spend more than that if you add them all up. But thankfully, they do use it. It took a few weeks of coaching them to do it. The younger cats definitely took to it a lot quicker than the older ones. But I had both trays going at the same time, their normal litter tray and the new one. Part of the issue was it's a different type of litter because you need to use clumping litter in the Litter Robot 3, whereas I didn't use that in the normal litter tray. So that was, I think, one of the biggest adjustments for them. And what I found really helped was to take some of the used litter from the normal litter tray and put it into the Litter Robot 3. Again, it's not on a cycle, so it's just in there to give it the scent, so they can go in there and go, ah, this is a litter tray, even though that's really weird stuff in it. I then covered over the old litter tray to see if they'd start using the new one more, and they did. It's pretty obvious why you would want a self-cleaning litter tray, but I'm going to state the obvious anyway. There's two main things. First off, the convenience for you is a big thing. Not having to keep checking to make sure it's clean, and also not having to physically take out the poo, which nobody really wants to do they? Do you? Really? Why? The other thing is even more important, and that is keeping that litter nice and clean for them, because they don't want to go into a litter tray that's full of crap. I mean, look, when you go to the toilet and somebody hasn't flushed, are you going to want to use it? Probably not. Let me explain how the Litter Robot 3 works. It's actually pretty simple. You have a big globe that sits on the base. Inside that globe, you have your clumping litter. And there's a sensor that detects when there's a weight change. So if a cat has been to the toilet or even just gone in it, there will be a set delay, and then it will do a rotational cycle. The clean litter is filtered through this grate, and all the bits of clumped up pee and poo drop into the opening of the base. And then it will rotate back the other way, and all that unused litter comes back out and is ready to be used. Inside that base you've got a bag, and that's what the actual used litter goes into. There's a sensor that will detect when the tray is full, and when that happens it won't do any more cycles until you've taken out the full bag, chucked it away and put in a new one. Then you just need to reset the machine to tell it the tray is now empty. It won't know that on its own. How frequently you need to do this depends on how many cats you've got. If you've just got one cat, I would say at least a week before you need to change it. But for me with 5 cats, it's roughly every couple of days. You'll need to top up the litter in the main compartment every now and then, because obviously you are still using litter when it clumps onto their waste, but it is much more efficient than if you're doing it manually. So over a period of time you will save money on litter, which is good because the machine itself costs about $500, £500 or so. I think it might take you a while to get the money back that you spent on the machine from the litter that you saved, but you're paying for more than just saving on litter. It's that convenience. The Litter Robot website does say you can use other types of litter, but it does recommend using clumping litter for the best results. You do need to make sure that your clumping litter isn't too coarse though, because it does have to go through that grate. And whilst the individual piece of litter will fit through just fine, when you get loads of it at the same time, then it's not all going to fit through. And a fair amount will end up just chucked into the base, even though it's clean. What a waste. This actually isn't my original Litter Robot 3. I gave that to my parents for my mum's 3 cats. Yeah, only 3? Crazy. This is the Connect version. So the difference is it is Wi-Fi enabled and you have an app. It will let you know when the bottom tray is full, but sadly it won't actually empty that bottom tray into your bin. That would be really cool. That would be definitely worth an upgrade. Whereas here, you get some information like how many times they use it, although it can't tell you who's using it because there's no way of it to identify each cat. It will tell you if there's any faults going on. It will tell you when a cycle has been interrupted, which is basically when a cat gets on it and goes in it when it's in mid-cycle, which is what Lollipop does. Most times it goes on a cycle, she jumps in it. You can set the amount of delay between the cycles at 3 different values: 3 minutes, 7 minutes, and 15 minutes. For me, 7 minutes is about the right amount of time, so the litter does have a chance to dry things out and clump. So when it does a cycle, there's less chance of leaving any streaks on the side. For that reason, I personally think 3 minutes is a bit too quick, and 15 minutes feels a bit too long, especially with me having multiple cats. Sometimes it doesn't clump in time and then you get a bit of a streak. And it's definitely worth doing a proper clean at some point too, where you need to empty out all the litter and make it look spotless and brand new for them.
One of the strangest things you can do with the Connect version is use IFFT. These give you little applets which set off certain actions depending on what you ask it to do. They're simple things like triggering a cycle.
Hey Google, scoop the poop.
I'll start a litter robot clean cycle.
Or if the waste drawer gets full. If you want to let your Twitter followers know when the machine is doing a cycle, you can set it to that. And my favourite is when the drawer is full, you can set it to order you a pizza from Domino's. Utterly bizarre. But maybe I'll try it one day. Because it is a pretty simple machine with few electronics and just that main mechanism of rotation, there isn't that much that can go wrong with the machine, although I have heard reports online of sensors failing at some point. But you can buy these individually and they're pretty simple to install yourself. Make sure when you are positioning the machine you leave enough space on the sides and at the back so when it is rotating nothing gets in the way, because of course that will stop the cycle. The only occasional issue I have is sometimes it can get stuck like this. Normally it's because a cat has disturbed it, but if it doesn't resume, then it could be an obstruction to the side or behind, and if there isn't, maybe there's a bit of litter stuck in there somewhere, but normally I just turn it off and on again, and that solves it.
The makers of it recommend you get one for every 2 to 3 cats. That would be nice, but I don't have a big house and I don't have space. Well, I don't have space for this one really. You can see it's huge. That is the biggest downside, apart from the cost. I have nowhere downstairs I could put it. No in the bathroom, the kitchen, there's just no space for it. So I've had to put it in front of the doors to the garden, which isn't ideal.
I've actually ordered 2 other self-cleaning litter trays. I backed them on Kickstarter and Indiegogo late in 2018. When I'll actually get them, I have no idea. What attracted me to the Footloose machine was that it can detect which cat has been in, so it can track how much they're using it in their app, which is great for health reasons, especially to see if they're actually using it too many times, which could signify some problems with their kidneys, for example. But I don't know how it is doing this. It's either via a special tag that I'll have to wear or via microchips. I hope it's a microchip. The issue with it being a Kickstarter product is when you'll actually get it. I mean, I've already paid for it in full, and initially it said delivery in June 2019. Latest update says third quarter 2020, and I'm sure that's going to slip again. For some reason, I backed another one after that, the iCuddle. I think I just like the design of it. It does look a little bit smaller, and instead of using a rotation system like the Litter Robot and the Footloose, it uses a rake to go through the litter and disposes of any waste into what looks to be a quite small bag. Certainly looks a lot smaller than the Litter Robot 3 one. That sort of concerns me a bit, as I think I may end up having to change that bag at least every day. The problem with these crowdfunding products is you have no guarantee of when or if you'll ever get it, even though you've paid in full. The thing that worries me about them is they are first generation products, so they haven't gone through that rigorous real world use over a long period of time, like the CatGenie and the Litter Robot 3, which are mature products. In fact, the CatGenie has been around for about 10 years and the Litter Robot for about 5 years, so that's a lot of real world testing and chance to figure out the things that do go wrong. I'm sure that these new ones will have had beta testing, but nothing compared to that length of time. Fingers crossed though. A quick search on Kickstarter and Indiegogo brought up these self-cleaning litter trays, which didn't get their funding so never actually came to market. So many of them. The only other self-cleaning litter tray that I've used is the PetSafe one, and it's nice because it has a low initial price. I bought it for Jimmy the Greek. He was in quarantine for the first 2 weeks of living at my home, and I wanted him to have a nice self-cleaning litter tray. The downside to this one is the replacement trays are pretty expensive. They state for one cat it will last between 20 and 30 days. Well, it's definitely closer to 20 days. Another Greek cat, the lovely Moo, now has this. And yeah, she definitely doesn't make it last 30 days. She's a poo machine. In theory, the CatGenie should be the most economical of them all, as that litter is reusable. Once it's removed the waste, then water is pumped in, as well as some cleaning fluid, and it's used to completely rinse it all. It will then go on a drying cycle to leave the litter as fresh as if you just put it in there. One of the biggest downsides is this does take quite some time. In comparison, the litter robot cycle is roughly about 2 minutes. You will need to top it up a little bit as the cats will kick some out, and you do need to buy some of that fluid, but it definitely works out way cheaper than buying disposable litter. If only they used it.
One of the biggest issues with filming this review is they're not going to the toilet enough for me to get the detail shots that I need, so I'm having to keep putting clumps of wee and poo back in to get the shots. This is disgusting. This is what you're trying to avoid by getting one of these. Touching or going anywhere near it. And that hides the stink being in there.
For me, the Litter Robot 3 has become an essential part of my cat life. I am so reliant on it, especially when I am abroad working and one of my friends is looking after them. It makes their life a lot easier, and I know that my cats are always going to have lovely, clean litter. Is the Litter Robot 3 the best one you can buy? It's certainly, for me, the best one that I've used, in that it is being used by them, and it seems to be very reliable. Whether these Kickstarter ones turn out to be good or not, I won't know until I eventually get them. But the Litter Robot 3 is incredibly solid and reliable, and that's what you need from a self-cleaning litter tray. Coming up in future videos, I'll be looking at the microchip pet feeders, taking a look at the toys you can get your cats, from the basic ones to the more expensive automatic robot type toys, treat dispensers that I can trigger from my app no matter where I am in the world, and a special video all about the Casio and how much happier it's made all of my cats.